As the season goes on, fantasy defense just continue to get more and more important. And this is the first week where we have NFL bye weeks. So you can expect some good defenses like the Steelers, for example, to be left off the entire list. But I'm doing everything I can to get us ready for week 5. And I'm one of the only fantasy creators who does defense multiple times a week. So please go down there and drop a like on this video and subscribe to the channel to show your support. Now get into our first tier right here. I've got the Lions defense at number 1, and they go to Cincinnati this week to take on the Bengals. Now obviously if Joe Burrow was here, it would change the game. The Lions would not be in the top 5. They probably wouldn't even be in the top 12 at all because that offense is a juggernaut with Joe Burrow. But just take him out of the equation and look at exactly how bad that they've done. This is without even getting into the Lions defense and how good they've been defensively this year. This offense is atrocious. They are turning the ball over and they can't move the ball. Now you add on top of that a really good defense this year. The number 5 defense in fantasy football, and it's very, very close to the Denver Broncos in sacks. They're 1 sack behind the sack leaders at 14 sacks this year. They have 3 interceptions and 4 forced fumbles. This is an aggressive defense that I completely underestimated post Aaron Glenn. Their defense is killing it on all fronts, and this matchup is so ideal. I don't see how the Lions do not perform well this week in fantasy. The number 2 defense is going to be the Vikings defense, and they are overseas once again to take on the Cleveland Browns. And we just got word before we started this video that apparently the Cleveland Browns are planning on starting Dillon Gabriel in this game instead of Joe Flacco. Now, that causes a couple concerns for me for a couple different reasons. Number 1, Joe Burrow was a turnover machine, so he was a great play for any fantasy defense to go against. The other thing is that I do think that if they put in Dillon Gabriel, I have a hard time believing they will be as willing to throw down the field, so there probably won't be as many turnovers. That being said, I think the Vikings have several advantages in this game. Number 1 is that this is their second game straight on the road, not just on the road, overseas. So I think they're going to be way more adjusted to that than the Cleveland Browns will be. And the Vikings defense is still a very good defense. Like, I get it, they didn't have the greatest week playing the Pittsburgh Steelers this past week, but the Minnesota Vikings defense is still our number 3 defense in fantasy football with 11 sacks and 8 forced fumbles. This is an aggressive defense led by Brian Flores, and they're taking on an offense who, even if Dillon Gabriel doesn't throw picks this week and they just have 0 turnovers, they're not going to have more than 10 to 13 offensive points. So I don't see that the Vikings are a bad play either, so they're here at number 2. Our number 3 defense to round out this tier is the Colts, and they take on the Las Vegas Raiders at home. Now, this is the perfect scenario, right? Because Geno Smith, yes, he can put up points, and the Raiders can put up points, but he is a turnover freaking machine right now. It's actually fantastic to watch for a fantasy defense because the Colts have had a couple tough matchups here, and they really get a break back at home versus the Las Vegas Raiders. I mean, their passing game, they do have weapons. And obviously, Ashton Genty had his breakout party, but just the way that the Indy defense is playing so far with 10 sacks and 4 interceptions already, you throw in Geno Smith, who's definitely good for a pick or 2 a game, and at the max, 3 or 4, I think that this is a matchup that you just absolutely want in on with the Colts defense. Now, dropping down to our next tier, I've got the Cardinals defense at number 4, and they're taking on the Tennessee Titans at home. Now, with the Cardinals defense here, this is obviously an ideal matchup more than anything else. Like, the Cardinals defense has been a little bit disappointing from a fantasy perspective. They haven't been atrocious, but they're the number 12 defense in fantasy right now. And they have 8 sacks on the year and 2 interceptions and 2 forced fumbles. What really got them is they've had a safety and they also got a defensive touchdown. That's really what's bumping those numbers up, and those are obviously more unique plays. But the fact that they're playing Tennessee this week, I can't envision them not having at least a solid week. But because they're not an elite defense, they do not get inside of tier 1 because I don't trust their defense as much. Like, we may see Cam Ward have his best game this week. It wouldn't be surprising because it's not exactly the highest bar to clear. But I do still think if you just look at Tennessee, even if they put up points, he'll throw a turnover as well. This is just a bad offense with not much talent. Cam Ward doesn't look good. The offensive line is bad. It's a disaster of an offense, and the Cardinals can take advantage of this. The Rams defense is at number 5, and they're taking on the San Francisco 49ers on Thursday night this week. Now, I'll be honest here. If the 49ers were fully healthy, and I knew that Brock Purdy was going to go, Ricky Pearsall was going to go, and Jawan Jennings were going to go, I would probably not feel as strongly about this one right here. But I will tell you this. This is just a mess of a situation. Everybody with a name is injured in San Francisco. Brock Purdy, I honestly wouldn't doubt that he will not play this week, and it'll be Mac Jones. Now, that's not the worst thing in the world, but if Mac Jones has zero weapons to throw to outside of Kendrick Bourne and Christian McCaffrey, for the most part, it's not going to be a good day. And the Rams defense is very, very good, and not just in real life, in fantasy football. 14 sacks this year. They're tied with a team like the Detroit Lions we just talked about earlier. They've forced 4 fumbles and they've got 3 interceptions as well. This is a team that's very good defensively in the NFL, and they're getting the plays necessary to be a good fantasy defense. So on Thursday night, I get it. It's not the greatest matchup on paper, but these NFC West games, they're usually lower scoring matchups. And I like the Rams this week because the 49ers have nothing offensively. The Texans defense is at number 6, and they're taking on the Baltimore Ravens in Baltimore. Now, ordinarily in a normal week, you would not have the Texans this highly ranked, if at all, inside the top 12, right? Well, Lamar Jackson, we got word earlier today that he is not expected to play. So if it is going to be Cooper Rush, I'm expecting a turnover or 2 at the very minimum. Now, the Ravens offense already hasn't been very good or anything like that, right? And you add on top of that, the Houston Texans has been a very good defense for the majority of the season. 11 sacks so far, 2 picks, and 2 forced fumbles. They're getting after quarterbacks, man. And Cooper Rush obviously can't move like Lamar Jackson, and they just won't be able to put up as many points as Lamar Jackson would with the Baltimore offense. So I don't see how this one doesn't work out in week 5. It's not the best defensive play you can make, but it is a very solid one. And the Seahawks defense, I feel very similar because the Seahawks are a great defense, but they're taking on the Tampa Bay Bucks this week. This is just a scenario where I think we're looking at a truly elite defense, and I can't not put them inside the top 12 just because of matchup. And listen, Tampa Bay is very good, and they can move the ball. But the problem that they have seen is that Baker Mayfield, as good as he is very turnover happy. If he gets in a hole, he will start throwing turnovers, and that's exactly what happened against the Philadelphia Eagles. Add on top of that, they've got their own issues with injuries as well. Mike Evans obviously probably isn't going to go this week. Chris Godwin's still working his way back from an injury. They've got Bucky Irving now who's waiting to see if he can go. There's just a lot of injuries, and the Seahawks defense, man, they're so aggressive. They're the number 1 defense in fantasy. 7 interceptions this year. It's actually just pretty ridiculous. So they've got a ball-hawking secondary and a team that has 12 sacks this year. The Seahawks defense is fantastic. And also, a bonus tip, they've gotten 2 special teams touchdowns this year. That matters for fantasy football when it comes to defense here. And the Seahawks might not be a defense that's on the waiver wire, but if they are, or if a defense like the Rams are this week, this is the perfect time to use our automatic waiver wire tool to go claim those players off of waivers tomorrow night. Because what always happens is that after waiver wire priority claims run through, there's always a mad dash to get up at 3 in the morning as soon as those waivers clear to go pick up the best remaining players. Well, what our process has done is automate that for you so you can sleep through the night peacefully and not have to worry about getting yourself up at 3 a.m. before work. This is a perfect time to use this tool because our tool is winning people their leagues and saving their leagues from destruction this year, and defense only gets more important as time goes on. And additionally, if you sign up for the premium subscription, you'll also get access to my full top 250 plus rankings on a weekly basis, including all of my defense rankings, all the way down to the bottom of the barrel.
This is Ted. Ted desperately needs to pick up a new running back, or his fantasy team is toast. Don't be Ted. Use Fantasy Football Roundup to automate your waiver pickups and rest easy this season.
Now, dropping down to our next tier, I've got the Cleveland Browns defense at number 8, and they're taking on the Minnesota Vikings in that overseas matchup. Now, the Browns defense, they've had a really weird stretch of things, right? Because in week 3, when they beat the Green Bay Packers, the conversation became, well, is this actually a good defense, or were the Packers just off? And I told people last week, I really don't know what I think. Well, then last week they came out and they were just absolutely destroyed by the Detroit Lions. So it's like, I don't really feel like they're that good. But I will tell you this, the Browns defense does have 11 sacks in this game. Minnesota's weakness has been protecting the quarterback, whether it's Carson Wentz or J.J. McCarthy. Their offensive line, a little bit in shambles right now. And you add on top of that, it may be J.J., it may be Wentz this week. Either way, their offense just is not moving the ball enough. So I don't think that they're going to put up 25 plus points on the Browns. I think this could be a 17-13 type of matchup this week. I really do. So I think the Vikings will win, but I think the Browns are going to be able to get enough plays defensively to make them a decent play in fantasy this week as a defense. And the Dolphins defense is at number 9. This one is purely matchup. This is not because the Dolphins defense is any good. I mean, they just gave up 20 plus points to the Jets. But the Panthers somehow look worse. I mean, the Panthers offense is absolutely atrocious right now. It doesn't matter if we play the Panthers in Carolina, in Miami, or in Timbuktu. I mean, it really does not matter. That's how bad this offense has been. And the Dolphins have 8 sacks. While that's not the best number, it's actually not the worst. And they've also got 2 forced fumbles. So they have made a couple plays, and the Panthers just look so bad. This is purely matchup. They would not be here if they were playing an even mediocre offense, by the way. Now, dropping down to our last tier, I've got the Ravens defense at number 10 versus the Houston Texans. And I know I sound ridiculous because I keep encouraging people to play the Ravens defense. And I get it. I totally understand. The Ravens defense has been objectively bad, but I cannot get past this. Remind yourself of who they've played over the course of the last month. 3 out of the 4 teams had top 5 offenses. Kansas City, Detroit, and then they played the Buffalo Bills. Like, they've played really good opponents here, and the Texans offense is just bad, flat out, end of story. Now, the Ravens defense, they've definitely got their own issues on the front end and on the back end too. So it's not like they look good, but I do still think that this Texans offense can be taken advantage of because everybody's done it. Even the Titans last week did it to a certain extent. So I do think the Ravens are actually going to be a top 10 play this week. And if they're not, you won't hear about them for a long time because it's too embarrassing. The Eagles defense is at number 11. And they take on the Denver Broncos at home. Listen, this just has to do with the defense that I just, again, think is too good to leave off this list. The Philadelphia Eagles is the defense number 4 in fantasy right now. And the irony is they only have 5 sacks. They're not getting after the quarterback that much. But what they are doing is getting interceptions, 3 interceptions, forced fumbles with 2. They've got 2 special teams touchdowns. Again, that stuff matters, man. So the Eagles defense, they're playing the Broncos, and I get it. The Broncos just beat the brakes off the Bengals. Whatever. That means nothing to me because the Bengals can't move the ball. The Broncos still look a little bit, I don't know how to say it. Turbulence, maybe is the right word. Their offense just look like it's still going through some turbulence. It doesn't look exactly great. I think the Eagles are a good play this week. And to round us out at 12, I've got the Chiefs defense at Jacksonville this Monday night. And I think the Chiefs defense will be a solid play for one reason alone. This is a game plan type of prediction I'm going to make. I think the Chiefs are about to expose the Jags. And the Jags, ironically, are the number 2 defense on the year. And I would rather play the Chiefs over them when the Chiefs are not that great of a fantasy defense. They're the number 15 fantasy defense. But they do have 10 sacks. They've got 3 interceptions in this year. And they've also got a forced fumble. They've made some plays. They're getting after the quarterback. I think they'll get after Trevor Lawrence, make him make mistakes. And I think they will expose the Jacksonville Jaguars on a big stage in Monday Night Football. So let me know what you think of the rankings in the comments below. And if you want to see this week's top 30 wide receiver rankings, click on this video right here.